everybody, welcome to Cox Automotive's PM Roundtable series, where we're talking about maximizing your profits in today's competitive environment. And we're going to kick it off talking about, maximizing your inventory mix. And that means, right now, used inventory is getting tougher and tougher to acquire, right? We've seen lease returns kind of drying up because leases really weren't happening a couple of years ago. So how can a dealership really kind of be competitive in this marketplace, capture that right inventory mix, and maximize their profitability in this space? So we're going to kick it off with Ted here and talk about, on the vAuto side of things, how do we really make sure that we're taking the best advantage of what's going on in the marketplace?
Yeah, so great point that you brought up with the lease returns. Kelley Blue Book does say that next year we'll have 1.1 million less lease returns coming in than we had just in 2022.
Wow.
And even that was a challenging landscape, right? So there are things that we can do to help our team be more efficient and for us to, acquire the vehicles that we need at the dealership. And, I feel like the base of that is the data and the strategy page.
Yeah.
And making sure that we've got that dialed in. And, what does that mean? And that means looking at the market and seeing what's selling in the market, maybe putting some minimum to stocks in there, but also what's the store doing, right? And then tying it all together, how does that help us at the store level? And, I would argue that we're all challenged today. We do a lot more, it seems like, and we run really hard. So how do we make our team more efficient in what they're doing, right? So the data that you put into the strategy page, it only takes 10 or 15 minutes to get it in there and probably 5 or 10 minutes a week to keep it up to date. But that data follows you around in so many other places.
Yeah.
And so it follows you to service drive appointments, right? So if we're doing a equity campaign and the service drive, which ones are the best ones to talk to, right? We can't talk to all the customer pay ROs that are coming in, but we can whittle it down to the ones that make the most sense at the dealership, right? And it follows you to appraisals, so the team can see that, hey, this is a +10 stocking strategy. I need this car based on the data. Hey, we sell these cars, the market sells these cars. It should be all hands on deck. We've got to get this vehicle. Maybe I'm the sales manager. Maybe I got to TO it, right? Maybe I got to go get my GM involved. Maybe we just got to buy the car. Whatever it might be, that's a car that we need. It's going to increase my paycheck because the car sells well in the market and we do well with it here at the store.
And something to add to that, let's think about it from a sales standpoint, right? As a salesperson, if we can get our salespeople to create wish lists inside of VinSolutions, every time there's an appraisal done, it will send an alert to a salesperson, right? And if that salesperson is on top of their business, they can go to the manager at that point who's appraising that car and say, look, hey, I've got customer ABC that may be interested in this car. That may give that manager more of an opportunity to maybe step up more in the trade, gain in the trade, sell the car, move the metal, so on and so forth. So making sure that we're utilizing the wish list inside of VinSolutions is another key crucial part.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up because the icon actually lives inside of vAuto too. So the salesperson doesn't necessarily have to go track down the manager. The manager that is desking the deal
Correct.
or appraising the car sees the icon right there in the top right-hand corner. Hey, there's a consumer that wants this car that we have in our system.
Love it. So, John, it sounds like wish list is kind of like an unsung hero of VinSolutions. How would a dealership learn how to use wish lists?
It's relatively simple. If you don't know, contact your performance manager first off. But it lives on the customer dashboard, right? So in your tabs right there, you've got the areas that you can create the wish list, and it clearly says wish list right there on the tab.
Great.
So it's just a mindset. It takes 5 or 10 minutes to create it. You can go through there, build exactly what you're looking for.
Yep.
And every time it says, well, who do you want to send the alert to? You can set up salesperson, manager, whoever, anybody that has that user type in the role.
That's great. Now, Daniel, you're our Xtime expert, and you might think, well, how does service kind of fit into this? So I'm going to ask you, how does service fit into this?
Yeah, well, the acquisition starts there, right? So where does the feed come from? And that's the first thing we want to make sure is active and live, is that vAuto is getting that feed from the Xtime appointments. And making sure, hey, we're grading those vehicles out so we can take our top 10 customers. And Xtime, our tool is to engage the customer in the drive. And how are we bringing that top 10 customers into that organic engagement with our customers and trying to get those vehicles acquired from the drive?
Yeah, absolutely. It seems.
And I'm sure we're going to say it a lot today about how each particular product talks to one another.
Yeah.
But inside of VinSolutions, you can also see the service appointments.
Yeah,
So I mean, there's another opportunity right there for you to prospect. Right?
absolutely.
So it's the integration between each tool is just ideal.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, if you're a smart salesperson, you're checking that service appointment thing every
Daily,
day
yeah.
and saying, hey, this guy's got $8,000 in equity on this
Absolutely,
vehicle.
it shows it right there.
And he's servicing it. Why don't we just offer to buy it, right? And then get him into the next vehicle.
100%.
And what's great too is that person's servicing that vehicle at your dealership. You've got a pretty good, idea of that history, so you know it's a quality used vehicle. They're already at the dealership, which is what most dealerships struggle with, is getting that person in there. And you can have that face-to-face conversation. I think another key thing too is, kind of turning the scales back on that point of sale. And I think we'll probably, talk about this more and more, is on delivery day, have it on your checklist, schedule that first service appointment.
100%.
Right? Because I think it increases the likelihood that somebody's going to service the vehicle at the dealership by 40%. And then, boom, we're getting them back into that life cycle. And then your salespeople are checking that service appointment and saying, oh, they've got equity, maybe we can get them into another vehicle.
100%.
Now, what are some great ways to kind of merchandise those vehicles once they've kind of come in? Like, how do we make sure that they're getting, on the site and kind of standing out?
I think that all starts at the appraisal. I mean, do we have a process in place where when we do an appraisal, we're taking photos of the car? And do we have a set space that we're doing that in so we can utilize those photos on day one, right? In the event that, we don't get it detailed first, at least we've got something out there on the internet as opposed to no picture. The other thing we can do is when we're in vAuto, we're doing the appraisal, right? We're coming up with an exit strategy. How are we going to price that car so that we're merchandised correctly in the market based on market day supply, based on the travel rate of the car, and help the team make the best decision possible.
Absolutely. And it seems like, when you're appraising a vehicle, you're really competing. I've heard in the past that when somebody comes into a dealership with a trade-in, they've received, multiple trade-in offers. So how can you coach your team to, be as competitive as possible in acquiring that trade? I mean, are there any reports to show, maybe what their success rate is, maybe those trades that they lost to somebody else? Like, how can you dig into that with vAuto?
That's a good question. We talk incessantly as PMs on the vAuto side about what is your look to book, and even breaking that down by strategy, right? So is it a trade-in that's at the front door? If it is, we should be at 55% or higher, right? Is it a sight-unseen appraisal? And we're seeing more and more of those, to your point, with the Carvanas of the world and consumers getting values over the internet. And what is our win ratio there? And there's also the missed trades report. So if we're doing the appraisals and we're finalizing those appraisals, if we don't get the win, we can go back and look and see where's this car showing up. So there's a 60-day missed trades report that lives in vAuto, and it's a rolling 60 days. We can always see the vehicles that have shown up online somewhere else that we appraised. And we can't do anything about it, but they are training opportunities. We can dig in and find out why did we miss that vehicle.
Absolutely.
And hopefully not do it in the future.
I think the other thing too is make sure shoppers are aware that you are actively trying to buy their vehicle, right? There's all sorts of competition for those vehicles, and maybe private sellers who think, I don't want to sell my vehicle to the dealership. So, they're going to go with Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist because they think that they're going to get more money. And the thing is a lot of times people, I think, will pay for more convenience, right? And dealerships, you have a huge advantage versus a private buyer, right? You can just cut a check that day, pay off that person's balance on their loan and acquire that vehicle. Whereas, if you're dealing with somebody who's, buying it privately from you, you got to get your payoff from the bank. You got to send that check out. You got to make sure everything's dialed in, get all this paperwork filled out. Where as the dealership can just kind of show up, cut them the check, drive that vehicle away, and you're good to go. So I think a key thing here is, on your website, make sure you've got, your We Buy Cars page. Make sure you've got some banners talking about how we want to acquire your trade. Put it in your advertising, in your ad copy. Hey, we want to buy your car. Make sure you're getting that message out there to as many people as possible that are interested in maybe getting into that next vehicle. Now, we're going to kind of wrap it up. I'm going to ask each of you guys, what are your kind of key takeaways when it comes to, maximizing your inventory mix in this kind of competitive environment? So, Ted, we've been going to you for the most part here with vAuto, so we're going to have you kick it off.
Sure. I'll go back to the strategy page, right? And we didn't finish, but that data also follows you out into StockWave, right? So we can see, those vehicles that we need. Going back to the service drive appraisals, it sounds like, hey, I can look at a equity report in VinSolutions, and I can take that equity report, and then I can look inside of the service appraisals that I get from Xtime, and I can marry it up with my strategy actions, and I can target the consumers that make the most sense for me at the dealership. And so I think that's probably one of the easiest things that we can do to help our team be more efficient. One of the other things you brought up, merchandising, right? So on that front with pictures, and how do we get customers to reach out to us if they want to sell their car? Hey, each one of our cars are individual ads out there on the internet, right? So why don't we have bulletin boards set up inside our photo sets? We could utilize intelligent promotion. Everybody that's on vAuto has the ability to utilize intelligent promotion as an add-on, but that puts in those bulletin boards and we can advertise to the consumer. So just keep in mind, every car is an individual ad for the store, and we want to put our best foot forward.
But we want to make sure that our inventory and that our cars and trucks and SUVs and things of that nature stand out, right? We don't want the picture with the background of a different building, the Meineke right next door that changes oils, things like that. We want to make sure that the car stands out.
That's a great point. Putting it someplace that makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's a spot in front of the dealership where all these appraisals are getting the pictures taken.
Absolutely. Because let's face it. That is the candy.
Yeah.
Right. It's what they see. It's what they want. And the next thing is using the tools that we have to analyze and figure out what we need, where we're at, and how to get there.
Love it.
Yeah.
Daniel, let's wrap it up.
Just like you said, make the tools work together for you, right? Make sure that they're all talking to each other. Get your service appointments over to vAuto so they can do those appraisals. But also even thinking about the customers that are in for service today. What are we doing to alert that sales team when those customers are declining dollars in our shop? How are we approaching those customers today while they're still here? So again, just using those tools and making them work to your advantage.
That's great.
Getting with your PM as well from the VinSolutions side of things and have them create a report for you that gets sent to you daily that says, hey, this is the list of customers that decline service over $800, right? Just something simple as that. Just staying in front of your customer.
I love it. So key takeaway here is, pay attention to your strategy page on vAuto, right? And if you don't know what's going on with your strategy page, who can you call? Your PM, right?
Absolutely.
And on VinSolutions, pay attention to those service appointments as they're coming in. Make sure the next time you've got those integrations set up so you can pay attention to those, see what kind of equity that's coming in. At the end of the day, if you've got questions about, how to utilize these different tools or strategies, give your PM a call. They'll be happy to take you through all this great stuff to help you maximize your business and sell more vehicles.